I am very excited to have my next guest join us. She is a very talented singer and songwriter. It is Girly.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
I
Thanks for
really
having
appreciate
me.
it. We're catching you in the middle of tour right now.
Yeah.
Actually, end of tour by the time this is out.
Show, yeah.
With
yeah.
Alt J.
With Alt J.
How has that been going? I can imagine with a band of that stature and...
It's been amazing. I mean, like, first of all, they're so lovely. Like, you know, they've been so warm and like welcoming to us, which you don't always get. I feel like when you're the support act, sometimes the main artists are like quite, I don't know, diva-ish, but they've been so nice to us. And the venues we've been playing are just iconic, beautiful, like, you know, old theaters. We played the Wilton in LA for 3 nights, and now we're at the Fox Theater in Oakland. And it's just such a joy to play venues like this. The sound, the vibe, the decor, and then the crowds have been so amazing.
The architecture is just simply beautiful, especially at the Fox Theater in Oakland because it was refurbished. It was a theater for so long.
Yeah, I've heard it fell into disrepair and no one was here, and then they brought it back. Yeah, it's such a.
And I'm sure the other venues are, you know, either still the same or they've remodeled it or added some touches, right?
There's something really classic, I think, you know, because they're from what, the 20s, 30s. There's something really classic entertainment, you know, about it. It feels like there's so much history here. London has so many great tiny venues, and the way I came up was I started playing venues in pubs, like these tiny, you know, like little back rooms and stuff, and there's such a like pub culture in England, obviously.
Yeah.
And you know, you can always find, you know, these little like DIY spaces, which is kind of how I started out, which I love, and I'll always love that. And there's a venue called The Garage, which is where I did like my first ever show, and that will always hold a special place in my heart.
What's that venue like? Is that kind of like a 100-person venue?
Yeah, exactly. It's like this tiny, sweaty, like, you know, like kind of, I guess, grungy like venue. And yeah, it's like
a lot is said about the British audiences and how it's so different than the American audiences. So I imagine as a new artist playing a small pub like that, you get really brutal, honest feedback.
Oh yeah, I used to go and play open mics, and you know, first of all, I was like a teenager when I started playing them, and I was a teenage girl walking in there, and it would be like all kind of like blokes with guitars, and I'd walk in there with my like iPod, and I'd have like a beat that I made that day at school, and I'd plug it in, and everyone would be like, boo, like, what is this? And you know, but it was rowdy. It definitely set me up, you know, for being able to perform to anyone and in any situation. I used to play the weirdest, scariest gigs, and actually people asked me, oh, do you get nervous playing these big shows with, you know, Alt J? I'm like, I get more nervous playing to smaller groups of people, like 2,000, 3,000 people. I'm like, awesome. That makes me so excited. It doesn't make me particularly nervous because I get so hyped.
Because you can actually see their faces when it's a
smaller
smaller crowd.
It's small, it's like, oh my God, like if they don't like me, I'm gonna see it. It's right there.
You had to develop a thick skin.
Yeah.
Pretty early on.
Yeah, which, you know, I'm a very sensitive person, but I feel like when I go on stage, I have a superpower.
Do you find that you are able to channel some of that confidence into real life?
Yes, I mean, I think, you know, like I was saying about my superpower, I think music is my superpower and my escape, and songwriting is, and, you know, my songs are my healing, and my diary entries, they're my journal entry, they're me figuring my stuff out, and you know, I write very honestly, and my lyrics are very much about things I'm struggling with and figuring out, and the sort of chaos and confusion of being in your 20s and not knowing what way is up and what you're doing, and you know, being able to perform those stories to people feels like I'm taking control of my narrative, you know, when life feels most of the time like you have no control over it. And so I think being able to tell those stories and perform them, it gives me a bit of control back.
And I think that's what makes your music so relatable to your audience who are so passionate. You have a very passionate fan base.
Yeah, they
and,
are.
and the music that you released, you know, I felt bad for many artists that released music in 2019 and had plans in 2020, and
tour.
you were one of them.
Yeah.
Where you had your debut album come out, right?
I did. I mean, I was able to tour that in 2019.
But you didn't come here.
But I didn't come here, which I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I had this tour planned that literally was going to start like basically 2 days after the lockdown started in the UK, which was a bummer. But I was going to do this thing called a sofa tour, where I was going to go into fans' like living rooms, and I had fans like apply to have their living room be one of the venues, and I planned this like 15-date tour where I was going into people's like I was going to play on people's sofas, and it didn't end up happening, which was such a bummer. But
and then here you are playing 3,000
yeah, I know,
venues
those shows
with a
were
big band like Alt J instead.
It's wild, and like I think I can really feel that with these shows is that, you know, some of these fans have been listening to my music for years, and I've been making plans to come to the US for a long time, and it never came to fruition. So it's really exciting to finally be doing it.
Well, how did that situation affect you? Because not only did you not have the opportunity to share your music with your audience in a live setting, not only in your home base of, you know, London and UK, but also, like I said, to come here. I know that there was some anticipation for you to come here. And then also the business side of things, where you had a change in record labels and all that other stuff too, in the midst of all this, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, like I'm very open about my journey, my musical kind of journey, because I feel like my fans responds to authenticity and honesty, and, you know, I've never tried to hide the fact that, you know, I was on a major label, I got dropped from that label, I went independent, I'm now with an indie label, and that's been really one of the best things that's ever happened to me, really, was, you know, going into a more independent space and being able to just do whatever I wanted to do and make the kind of music I wanted to make, and be my honest self. I knew I had fans here, but I don't think I expected the show. Like, my headline tour sold out, and, you know, I had the enthusiasm, and the reception was so amazing, and it was really emotional, actually, like meeting some people who were like, I've been listening to you since you first started releasing music, and these people have grown with me. We've like grown up together, you know, which is so special.
The pandemic also was a shared experience. So, and a lot of people had career changes, epiphanies, self-analysis, and all that.
Fully.
And I'm sure that obviously you did too. Did you ever get strung into the hype of, I gotta go online and, you know, perform live and do TikToks and all these other things?
I did a lot of live streams during COVID because I missed playing shows and I missed touring, and that was an amazing way to connect with my fans. But I think, TikTok has been something that I've had a very mixed relationship with, because, you know, my TikTok, like, one of my songs kind of blew up during the pandemic, and it's been quite a struggle for me, because actually social media very much negatively affects my mental health, and I think it affects a lot of artists and a lot of people's mental health negatively, but I think it's something that we feel that we have to do to promote our music, especially when you're an indie artist. It's like, okay, you know, I've got less money for marketing, so I've got to use TikTok and go viral, and that's the way I'm gonna promote my music. And actually, I think for me, I found that I think it reduces songs and art to these tiny snippets of like catching people, and like, let's, you know, like people, you know, there are people who will know for the song, my song Not That Girl, that, you know, went viral on TikTok. People know like 3 lines of that song. What they don't know is that I wrote that song about being catcalled, and it's this like kind of feminist anthem, and there's so much history and story to the song, and it's 4 minutes long, and it's not just that 10 seconds. And I appreciate everyone who's found my music that way. But I think sometimes TikTok can reduce songs and art to, you know, these like snippets and these moments. And actually, I feel like for me, I've always wanted to be an artist that people listen to my whole album. They listen to my stories. They're part of my journey.
There's a new song that just came out called Cheap Love.
Yes.
And that I think is so relatable because of the fact that it is teenage love right there. It is, you know, we're not rich.
That song like has a very special place in my heart because I think it's also one of, you know, I write about a lot of like pretty heavy stuff. Even, you know, mostly I tend to package the heavy stuff in like fun, dancey songs, but this song is just a very happy song. It's like about, you know, when you're like a teenager and you're just like, you know, it's a real story. It's about, you know, my first relationship when I was a teenager and, you know.
How old were you?
I think, well, I was writing like when I wrote that song, I was thinking about a past relationship. So I think I was like 16, 17 and, you know, it was just about how I was, you know, we were just drinking cheap wine in the park. We weren't going to like bougie restaurants and stuff, and you know, but you just feel that person makes you feel rich.
I love it. And I'm going to mess it up. It's brand new, but I love the hook where it's about, what is it? No bills, all thrills, or
yeah, no bills, just thrills.
Just thrills,
yeah.
Yes. And I want you. What is it? Give me cheap love.
Yeah,
right.
And you know, it can also, you know, apply to even my relationships now, where I'm like, okay, you know, yeah, you know, I'm not a teenager anymore. I can afford probably to, you know, to take my partner out for some nice meals and stuff. But to be honest, like the most special moments are actually when it's just me and them and we're just hanging 100%, out. And like,
yeah.
It's not
the
about
thing
money.
is that the reason why I love the song so much is not only does it capture this moment in time of being a teenager and that first love or that young love, but also that translates as you get older, as you do get established and can make some money. But you shouldn't be in a relationship about, hey, let's go to, you know, Bali and let's go drink champagne.
Well, yeah,
right?
I mean, like money can't buy love, and like,
right.
love, you know, I think for me, like I would much rather be, you know, just have a movie night at home with someone I love. Than,
Netflix
you know,
and chill.
Netflix, yeah, right. Then, you know, go for some bougie dinner somewhere with someone I don't really care about.
Really great to meet you.
You too.
And thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It is the one and only Girly right here on B-Sides.